Now with the first video clip that we just gave you, seeing all the notes in any particular key, in this video clip you're going to really learn to master your fretboard with scales and so forth. You're going to start playing scale patterns and so forth so much faster and so much more efficiently than you ever have before. Let me explain to you what we're trying to learn. In every key you have this particular arrangement: whole step, half, whole step, half. If we're in the key of C, C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step. Now E to F is a half step. Then F to G, whole step, G to A, whole step, A to B, whole step, B to C, half step. Note that there are only two half steps. Everything else is a whole step. So in other words, by learning to see where the half steps are on the fretboard, we automatically know, once we map out those particular two half steps where they are on the fretboard, we automatically know that everything else is a whole step. So let's look at it from this standpoint. I'm going to change keys now, and I'm going to go into the key of G, because it's good to be able to transpose and be able to see all this information in any key. So here we are in the key of G. Whole step from G is A, whole step from A is B, half step from B is C, whole step from C is D, whole step from D is E, whole step from E is F sharp, and then a half step G. So the half steps are on between the 7 and 1 and the 3 and 4. So these create patterns now on the fretboard. And here is your first half step pattern, starting with the 7 and 1. I'll do it real slow one more time. Now, if you can see what my fingers are doing, I'll do it like this, real slow for you. Half step. See the half step on the 5th and 4th? I mean the 5th string on the 2nd and 3rd frets. Now the 4th string. That's an octave of this one. This is an octave of this one. So we have, now we transfer that to the next octave, which would be the 7th fret and 8th fret. Now these are the only half steps in the key of G. Now we go up to the 3rd of the scale, which would be B on the 7th fret, and we have the octave, or the same note, excuse me, of this right here. So this pattern looks like this now. Now once we have those half steps put together, we have two patterns, this pattern and this one. Now putting this information together with what we learned in the last lesson will help you put together scale shapes and so forth so much more faster than just trying to memorize a bunch of patterns. So let's look at some scale patterns now. If I start on the 2nd fret and I go a half step, then a whole step, I have this right here. Now I go to the 5th string, same thing. Transfer it to the octave. And another octave transfer. And you have that right there. Move it to the 3rd of the scale, which would be B, and you have this right here. Half step, whole step. And all I'm doing there is I'm just moving it through the octaves. Now let me put together one more thing here, and you have a really quick way of playing scale shapes, and we'll talk about actual modal patterns in the next video clip. But what we're going to talk about now is just how to put together this information to play full fretboard scale patterns. So here we are, half step, whole step, whole step. Okay, so half step. Now whole step, so we have this right here. there's a full scale fretboard pattern there. Start on the third of the scale, which would be B, and you have this right here. And there's a quick way of putting together scale patterns in a linear fashion up and down the fretboard. Now, with the information in this video clip and the first one, you now should be able to quickly see that you can master the fretboard very quickly. The next video clip, we'll start to get into octave patterns and working with modal shapes.